here. As you can see, I'm at Penn Station, New York, and overlooking the Moynihan train hall. Earlier, it was very busy. There's like 3 trains to Washington that are late. There's a huge crowd in the food court area near the Irish exit bar. Huge crowd. Anyways, I'm on the second level overlooking the main hall. It's much quieter here. You might hear some train announcements. But what I really want to talk about is last Monday, I went on the inaugural ride out of South Station to Fall River. And I just want to talk a little bit about that. The first ride was actually from New Bedford up to Boston, and that left at 4, I want to say about 4:30, 4:27, something like that. I wasn't on that, but that came up to Boston, and then it was heading back to Fall River. So I was on the first train out of South Station down to the new commuter lines. And what they did up in Boston is they extended, it's called the South Coast Rail. It's part of the MBTA commuter system. They extended it from Middleborough, Lakeside, East Taunton, a spur to Fall River, and a spur down to New Bedford. It was very historic. This is the first time in almost 67 years that train service was reestablished between. They're kind of large-sized cities, especially from Massachusetts standards. Last run by the New Haven Railroad. So anyways, I just want to talk about that, and it's a pretty interesting project. And not that I review videos on it, but trains are awesome. If you just Google trains or just search trains are awesome. Tom has a very nice video, and what was kind of fascinating about he was on some of the initial legs, initial trains, and he got his video up that day or that evening, and it's very well done. So if you want some good information, I would just go there. I did post a short video, just some highlights, from my perspective, and I also did post a live stream that didn't go well because we weren't getting a signal. I was with Brian from Boston Transit Productions and another Joshua who is a contractor for the MBTA, works for a contracting company, and his got totally cut out. But anyways, if you want to see a good video, I recommend Trains Are Awesome by Tom. He did a really good job. And of course, Miles in Transit did a great job too. His came out, I don't know, a day or 2 later. And it was very typical Miles. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of frenetic, I guess that's the word. Miles and his crew, they visited every station. There were 6 new stations. Besides, on the New Bedford spur, there's also a stop, I think, in the north end of New Bedford, Church Street. And then towards Fall River, it stopped in Freetown. And then, of course, the East Taunton stop is new. That's the main transfer hub where both spurs connect. And also, the Middleborough station is new. It kind of replaces the nearby Middleborough Lakeside station, which will still be used for the Cape Flyer. But anyways, both are good. The Miles video had, I found this really interesting. They went to the New Bedford City Hall, and they have the oldest continuously operated elevator in the country. It's beautiful. If you check out his video on the New Bedford Fall River line, you'll see it. And yeah, that kind of shocked me. I have friends in New Bedford. I used to visit when I used to live up in Massachusetts. Go down there, and know about the whaling and all this, but never heard about the elevator. So great job on that, and it is beautiful. And I am kind of a fan of that type of stuff. The wooden escalators at Macy's are, always a favorite of mine, and it's just fun seeing visitors, especially Christmas time. They go to Macy's, and they get on the wooden escalators, and some of them will take pictures, and it's pretty cool. But anyways, those two videos are up. I just want to tell you my take on it. I started off at on the 6:45 train out of South Station, and stayed not too far. We were able to walk from the hotel on State Street to South Station. And as we walked in South Station, MBTA Chairman Philip Eng was greeting passengers, which was really nice. He was greeting passengers, taking photos of passengers, and he was actually handing out the souvenir pins, these little souvenir pins. And it was good to see him there. I know he loves the MBTA and commuter rail. I know he served his time here in New York too. So that was really cool. South Station, I have to say this. I mean, I love train stations. It needs a reset. It's I don't know. It's just very dark, and I think something is in the works, because as you leave the station waiting area, as you're walking to the platforms, there's a huge new project, and I should read more about it. It's got these beautiful arches that lead towards the tracks. So I'm sure good things are on the way, but it's it just doesn't. Even just better lighting, I think, would make a big difference. Anyways, so the rides were free all that day and all that week, and they continue to be free on weekends through the end of April. So that was pretty cool. I think the full fare is, I want to say, 12 and a quarter or 12.50, something like that. So it's pretty reasonable. So the only other inaugural service I went on was the East Side Axis, which in New York, when they opened up the Long Island Railroad into Grand Central. And I was on the first train, and it was revenue. They did take tickets, revenue run out of Jamaica. And it was a little bit later in the day, so, it was a lot more crowded. The Boston one, I expected a lot more people. The train out of South Station in the morning, it had 5 of the bi-level coaches. I forget what the seating capacity is. I think it's about 130 per car. Tons of space, just a lot of space. And so I was just kind of surprised there weren't more people turned out. But there were a lot of the rail fans were there, and that was nice. I think, maybe just, and yeah, it's kind of a reverse commute at that hour going down there, so it was mostly rail fans. Probably 90%. I don't know how many people were doing the reverse commute to Fall River. But anyways, just took the train out of Fall River, and the stations they're new, so they're nice that way. The platforms are nice, high-level platforms. But there wasn't I didn't see any bathrooms at the stations. There's really no station houses. Some of them are more like park and ride type facilities, so some big parking lots. And I guess the New Bedford station, there's things around. Actually, the Fall River station too, but not like a little bit of a stroll. But anyways, I think it's a great project. It's a long time coming, and Boston is pretty well served with commuter rail and mass transit, and this part of the section of the state, really needs it. And it's not that far. I'm just reading. I was surprised it was only 52 miles by rail from South Station to both endpoints. And that's not super far. I was thinking of the Poughkeepsie station up in New York, which is about 75 miles from Grand Central. And a lot of people. take that, and it has very good service. Now the service to Fall River, New Bedford, from what I read, is 32 trips, round trips a day. Some go express to New Bedford, some go express to Fall River. The ones that don't, you change at East Taunton to get there. So 32 trips a day is pretty good on a weekday. I'm not sure how close they are during the morning and evening rush, but I mean, it's a great start. Oh, I just want to mention too that I did attend the official ribbon cutting ceremony, which was at East Taunton, and they had a huge tent set up, and quite a few people were there. I mean, I know there were rail fans there, but there's also it was very political too. The governor of Massachusetts spoke, as did the lieutenant governor, the mayor of Taunton, and also I think she's called the commissioner of the Secretary of Transportation for Massachusetts. She spoke, and I mean they were thanking everybody. I mean, but kind of saying the same thing. And then Philip Ing spoke, and that was kind of like the main draw for us. And he's kind of low key. He did say some things. I'm trying to remember about the service. There was no ridership projections, and maybe it's too early to tell, or maybe they're out there and I just didn't see them. How many they expect, and I mean it will take time to build, but I think it'll be successful. I've driven to New Bedford a number of times. It's really not a fun ride, and for me it was even further than the 52 miles because I was driving from the North Shore. So I think it's great. I think Southeast Massachusetts and also the Cape would really benefit because the roads get very clogged. So it's a great idea. But I would like to see some of the ridership figures, and I'm sure if the ridership exceeds expectations, they'll be able to add more trains on. The other thing, this project was kind of conceived. Now, the last train ran out, and the last train, I believe, was September 5th, 1958. And then in the 1980s, they they started planning for it. So now we're 2025, so a good 40 years to get it going. The original cost estimate was 138 million. I think the final figure was like 1.2 billion. Of course, you've got 40 years of inflation, and it's a big project. But the right-of-way was there. These were freight secondaries to both cities, so it wasn't like they had to tear down buildings or take land through eminent domain. I mean, the right-of-ways were there, so they had that going for them, but they had to be rebuilt. The equipment was nice. The ride was nice. The track was great. It was very smooth. I think the highest speed I clocked was 81. Now, obviously, that's not an average speed because they're advertising it as about a 95-minute commute from either Fall River or New Bedford, which for 52 miles, I think they could do better. I don't know what that average speed turns out to be, but I know there's other train traffic as they get closer to Boston and getting to South Station. There's a lot of trains, and that's going to slow things down. But I know it just seemed a little bit long. But I think if you're going to, especially if you're going to commute from either New Bedford or Fall River to Boston, it's a good use of your time. To have the time on the train to work, rest, or whatever you want to do, rather than being in a car. But I think it would be even more enticing if they could get the length of the trip down a little bit more. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say about it. it was a good day. I guess, the crowds, I expected bigger crowds. Other than that, I just looking at some notes here that I took about the population of that area of Massachusetts is about 250,000 people. So that's a pretty good size area, and it's relatively close to Boston, so I think the project will be successful. And just see the one-way trip to Boston is $12.25. I think it's zone 8. And anyways, I'm glad I did it. It was and the weather was kind of gloomy, but it was very It was festive. It was very festive. I think the New York Inaugural was a little bit more festive. That's but it was good, and it was good to see so many of the rail fans out there, and I can't wait to take it down to New Bedford and check out the oldest continuously operating elevator in the country. And I guess you can only see it Monday through Friday, so have to try to work that into the schedule. But I definitely do want to ride it again, especially on a nice day, and take some videos of entering Fall River, entering New Bedford. And there's a big space, I don't know how many miles it is, where it's farm. It's like, this is Massachusetts. You don't really think of Massachusetts as farm, but yeah, there was big farm areas we went through, and that's where I was trying to do the live stream, and there really wasn't a signal to do it. But anyways, friends, I just want to give you my thoughts on that, and wherever the next inaugural train service is, I hope to be able to be a part of it. Can't make them all, especially when you're working, but that was a great day. As you can see behind me, it's still pretty mellow here. I mean, Sunday's a big travel day, but a lot of the trains, a lot of the people have already departed. All the long distance trains have departed. Right now, it's just service to mostly Boston, Washington, Albany, and Harrisburg. So friends, I'm gonna cut the video. We've been going 18 minutes. I appreciate everyone that watched, and if I missed questions, I'm sorry. I'm kind of new at this, and I'm just looking at my little phone here. But I do appreciate everybody that stopped in. All right, friends, take care. Have a great week, and be safe, and God bless you. Bye.